All right, so welcome to my second video. This is a 1990 GSX 750F or a Suzuki Katana. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining the purpose and how to install a relay to your coils. So let's start at the relay. This right here is my relay. I got mine from eBay. It's a GM part. I'll put something in the description if you're curious about it and if you want to use the same one I'm using. Essentially, I found someone who was using it on an 1100 Katana, and since mine's a 750, and he said it worked great, it still works great on mine, so why not? All right, so why would you use one of these in the first place? The whole point of a relay is to increase the amperage to whatever you're sending it to. And wiring harnesses, especially on older bikes, tend to lower their amps, how much amps go through them with time. And since this is 1990, this is no exception. My bike was providing too little amps to the coils, and I was still getting a spark, sure, but it wasn't hot enough of a spark. And doing this provides more power to the coils and gets me a much better spark. And it just makes your engine run better when you have all of your gas burning. Just an overall great thing to do. Another little interesting detail about the Suzuki Katana and why it's specifically helpful to install a relay is because of the wiring harness. The wiring harness is set up in a way to where the power that this would normally get comes from a specific source that also powers more than one other thing. Because of that, it's also drawing out some more amps. And whenever you install a relay, you just bypass that completely and have power coming straight from the battery and going straight to the coils. So it's an overall just great thing. Now that you understand the purpose of the relay, let's get started on how to install it. Let's start on the back wires, these two right here. So you got this black wire and this red wire. This black wire, as you might have assumed, is the ground. I have my ground hooking up straight over here. Doesn't really matter where you put it. For me, I just found this very convenient. As long as it grounds somewhere that is actually a ground. It's like the engine, the frame, it doesn't really matter. So now let's work on this red wire. This red wire hooks essentially straight up to the battery with a fuse right in the middle. I got this fuse box from AutoZone, works just great. And now the big thing, what kind of fuse do you want to use in there? I'm using a 15 amp fuse. You really want to use either a 10 or a 15 amp. Anything higher I wouldn't use. But right after that, the fuse, it just goes straight up in here and hooks up to the battery. So now I have two things connecting to the positive side. Now that you understand how the rear of the relay works, let's move on to the front. You have these two right here, this purple one and this red one. What the purple one does is it activates the relay, essentially telling the relay when to send electricity to the coils. So let's move up to the front of the bike. Both of those wires run up through this. So right here, I now have 3 wires instead of 2. This red wire right here is actually the purple one. It follows down and connects to the purple one. So you have this wire right here, and you also have this orange wire. Both of these are the ones that originally connected to the coils. And you want to use either of them to activate the relay. All right, now let's work on the other wire. This is the red wire that essentially connects to both the coils. This will now be providing energy to the coils. And since there's only one of these, you actually have to run a splitter. So it connects to 2 different wires and connect to both the coils. So let's follow up all the way up. So these 2 wires are the ones that connect to the coils now. I have the splitter further in line. So on the left coil, you want that positive wire to connect to the bottom. And on the right coil, you want it to connect to the top. The ground goes on the other sides of the coils. Another problem you might be having is the ground wire isn't working properly. It could be connecting to a positive wire in the harness, or it's just not grounding properly. In that case, you're just going to want to run a new ground to anywhere on the bike. Could be the frame itself, could also be the engine. It's really up to you. So the closing details I'd like to leave you guys with are 2 little things. You can have 2 red wires instead of 1, because currently I have that splitter running off, So it goes to both of the coils instead of just one. And if you choose another one, it can come with 2 wires instead, so there's no need to have a splitter. Another thing you're going to want to keep in mind is water. You do not want water getting in your relay. If water gets into your relay, it will not work and your bike will not get any spark. So you're stuck wherever you are. So if you can, try to waterproof it. Some people use wax and other things, but just try to get a relay and put it somewhere where you're confident it's not going to get water.